Aloha, everyone. We'd like to welcome you to our second Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation construction update, virtual construction update. We've got a lot planned for you this afternoon. We're going to start sort of from west to east. If you don't mind, the next slide there. Our agenda today, a project overview, and then we're going to start and head west to east. So we'll start with our West Oahu Station Group, then the Farrington Highway Station Group, Kamehameha Highway Station Group. Then we'll head towards the airport area there for Guideway and stations, City Center utility relocation. Then we'll talk a little bit about core systems and some of the dynamic testing that's going on. And then what's also very important during this meeting is we want you to know that we've got our experts here, and we want it to be a two-way street, some Q&A, questions and answers for you. We know that there are a lot of questions out there. If you want, and you're watching us here on Facebook, in the comments section, you can write your questions for us to answer. As we said, we've got a number of different experts that are working on the system that will be able to handle that for you. And then at the end, we want you to take part in a survey if you don't mind. All right, next slide, please. Again, not just in the comment section book or the comment area for Facebook, but also you could email us questions if you want. That's at info@honolulutransit.org. So those are the two different ways that you can reach out to us. All right, I'm going to step aside, and I want to introduce right now our Executive Director and Chief Executive Officer for the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation, Mr. Andrew Robbins. Andy?
Thank you, Jai. Aloha, everyone. My name is Andrew Robbins. I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation. I'd like to again welcome everyone to this virtual construction update. As Jai said, it's the second one that we've done, streaming live on Facebook. Right now, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to do these meetings online, but we feel it's very important to continue them to keep the entire community informed about what's happening with the Rapid Transit project and to answer any questions that you may have. And this is also a chance to hear directly from the contractors, so that's what makes this particular session very unique. I'd like to welcome some of the area lawmakers and others that are attending today. U.S. Senator Mazie Hirono may be on the line. I'd like to welcome her and her staff as they may be attending, as well as Congressman Ed Case and his staff. I understand Shingai Masia of Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard's office may also be on the line, so welcome. I believe we have 2 or 3 council members from the Honolulu City Council, Council Member Tommy Waters, Council Member Manahan, and Council Member Fukunaga and staff. So welcome to them as well. And I believe the staff of Senator Brian Schatz is also on the line, Dale Ha and Trey Reffitt. Welcome to them as well. And we also may have some HART board members, including board member Kathy Sokugawa, who's also the director of the City Department of Planning and Permitting. Welcome to Kathy as well. So I hope I got everybody. I want to welcome you again, welcome the public to this meeting. Please let us know of any questions you may have. We're very open to dialoguing with you directly through this method. So thank you again, and now I would like to turn it over to our, I'm the next speaker, apologize. I'll just give you a rough overview of the project itself. Many of you may already know this, but what we are constructing is a 20-mile, 21-station rail rapid transit system right across the island of Oahu. It's very unique technology using driverless trains that are being provided by Hitachi Rail. We're also constructing 4 park and ride lots, as well as a 43-acre rail operation center, and that rail operation center is already constructed and up and running. Next slide, please. We are planning a couple of interim openings prior to the full opening all the way to Ala Moana Center. So the first interim opening it would be the first 10 miles of the system. That includes the first 9 stations, and that will run from East Kapolei to Aloha Stadium. So under the HART responsibility, we are completing all of the construction activities, and we're working very closely with Hitachi Rail and other contractors to fully test the system, and then we go through a full safety certification process. That's all under the responsibility of HART, and we intend to have all of that complete by early March of 2021. And then we essentially turn the first 10 miles over to the City Department of Transportation Services, who will see fit to start the actual passenger service, and we believe they'll be ready to do that as early as March 31st, 2021. So in about 6 months, very exciting milestone to have actual passenger service on the first 10 miles. Meanwhile, we are working with our contractor, STG, to complete the next 5 miles of the system that runs from Aloha Stadium to Middle Street. And we're about 70% complete with that construction project. That will then be followed by Hitachi coming in with all of the electrical installation and operating system technology, go through a full test and commissioning and certification process on the way to Middle Street, and we anticipate that being ready for passenger service by 2023. Once we complete that, we'll have 75% of the system up and running by 2023. So again, a very exciting milestone to look forward to. And then we have our city center portion of the project, which runs from Middle Street up Dillingham Boulevard, through Iwalei, downtown Kaka'ako, on its way to Ala Moana Center. As I'm sure you've heard and we'll discuss in this presentation, the first major construction activity is the relocation of many, many utilities along the corridor. We have to do this in order to make way to actually construct our rail guideway and stations. It's proving to be a very difficult challenge, and we'll update you on that as we go forward with this presentation. That'll be followed by the actual construction of the guideway and 8 stations in this segment, and the schedule today calls for that to be complete in the 2026 timeframe.
Okay, next slide.
Okay. What's been in the news for the last several days has to do with the public-private partnership procurement, which relates to our city center guideway and stations work that's needed from Middle Street to Ala Moana Center. And as you probably read in the newspaper and heard through media, the City and County of Honolulu have decided to withdraw from that procurement. We did have a joint procurement between HART and the city because the procurement encompassed both the construction of the project as well as the long-term operations and maintenance. Construction is under the purview of HART. Operations and maintenance by city charter is under the purview of the city. City has decided to withdraw for various reasons. At this time, HART has not withdrawn, and the procurement is still active, and we're looking at various options on how we may continue the procurement, because one way or the other, we have to actually complete the construction of the city center portion. We are encouraged by the fact that the Hawaii Procurement Code does offer several mitigating measures on how we can complete such a procurement. We're looking into all of those, working closely with the State Procurement Office at this time. And we'll also be in discussions with our bidders. We were very fortunate on July 23rd to receive proposals from a world-class team of developers and contractors who have still expressed an interest in continuing forward and finding a way to complete the city center portion of the work. And I think with that, go to the next slide. I would like to say a couple of words about carrying out the construction during this period of COVID-19. We already had a very challenging project, as you know, made even more challenging by having to do it while undergoing a pandemic that has affected all of us. And it was very important for us to quickly put in place a safe workplace plan. We take our guidance from the mayor's emergency orders, as well as from the governor and various state and federal public health agencies. All of those guidelines kind of inform us on safe working practices for our staff, our consultants, and of course our contractors and the workers that are out there every day in the field constructing this project. It's very important to keep everybody aware, so we conduct bi-weekly COVID-19 staff briefings. And as we put in these safety protocols, it's also very important to measure the success of those safety protocols. So we have our safety teams going out on a daily basis, doing safety assessments, ensuring that everyone is complying with the protocols. And to date, we've made over 3,600 safety assessments, and we're measuring a 96% compliance rate. So we're very happy with everyone associated with the rail project, from staff to contractors to laborers to the unions, everyone working together to ensure that everyone stays safe and complies with the safety protocols. It's also important to reach out to the public in terms of construction safety. We have a lot of active construction zones, so our public information, public involvement teams have been doing an excellent job reaching out to schools, for example, carrying out safety campaigns, informing everybody about the work that we're doing, about some of the safety risks that are out there. We have electrified trains that are in full testing now, so we're doing our best to inform everyone and to making sure, again, that everyone stays safe. Okay, you may have heard about the Holo card that was introduced by HART as well as by the city. In fact, this is an active smart card system that you can buy today and you can use on the city's bus system. And when the rail begins service, there will be ticket vending machines at every station where you can buy ticket vending. There will be ticket vending machines, and you can buy the Holo card specifically at the East Kapolei, UH West Oahu, Ho'opili, and West Lock stations, as well as Waipahu and Leeward Community College. When the first 10 miles go active and the first 9 stations go active, you'll be able to buy this Holo card and use it to access the rail system and also transfer seamlessly between bus and rail. So the field testing already has been underway. In terms of the rail system, again, the Holo card is active on the bus already, and we expect the installation on the rail system to be complete by this October. Okay, now I'd like to turn the presentation over to a representative from our contractor on the West Oahu Station Group. The contractor is NAN Inc., and I'd like to now introduce Justin Barfield to take you through this part of the presentation. Justin?
Thank you, Executive Director Robbins. I appreciate it. You know, as I was preparing for this presentation, I was thinking back to the groundbreaking ground blessing a few years back and just how much progress has been made in these past few years, and it's really neat to see. And we can show you what the stations look like right now. If you could change the slide, please. Here we go with the very first station on the alignment. This is the Kualakai East Kapolei station. This is at Keahumoa Parkway, and in the larger picture, you can see the swimming pool behind you. That's the Kroc Center. And basically, at the time when we did the groundbreaking for this station, Kamakana Ali'i Mall hadn't even opened yet. And now there's all kinds of development in this area with Ho'opili, with the mall, with traffic lights and things like that weren't there before. And we're 98% complete on this station. Our main upcoming work is installation of a 20-inch water line and the installation of a 24-inch and an 8-inch sewer line. That's on Kualakai Parkway. And we're on target for completion in fall of this year. Next slide, please. The second station in the West Oahu Station Group is the Keoniai UH West Oahu Station. This station has a unique feature in that there's a pedestrian bridge that spans across Kualakai Parkway. On the large picture at the top of your screen is where the fare gate is. And to your right there is a park and ride. It's about a 300 stall park and ride that Non-Inc. also constructed. So you enter the fare gate, you cross a pedestrian bridge, and then you aboard the train in the side closest to you. This station also, we're tantalizingly close to being done. 99% complete. The main work left is the traffic signal, and actually we've just activated the traffic signal that runs right underneath the pedestrian bridge so that you can know when to stop as you're approaching this intersection. Have a little bit more work to do on that signal, but it is up and running. I also wanted to draw your attention to the canopies. This is one of the hallmarks of all the stations in the West, and that is these are meant to be an homage to the Polynesian sailing tradition of hokulea, and they obviously provide shade, much needed shade when you're on the platform, and they're also a very distinguishing feature of the stations. Next slide, please. And the last station in the West Oahu station group that Non-Inc. is building is the Honouliuli or Ho'opili station. We're 99% complete. The main thing we have left is landscaping work that's ongoing. And basically just to spruce up some of those areas where you see dirt in the photo, we'll have some landscaping. And otherwise, we're basically done with this station. And the picture on your right is a look at from the ground level. And beyond that column with the decoration is the fare gate entrance. And that concludes my presentation for West Oahu Station Group. I would now like to pass it to my colleague, Patrick Watson, who will be providing information about the Farrington Highway Station Group. Patrick?
Thank you very much, Justin. Great job. Aloha, everybody. My name is Patrick Watson. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of Hawaiian Dredging Construction Company and the work that they're doing out in the Waipahu area. They're building 3 stations out in that particular area, and they're really close to completion. So the first one I'll be speaking about is the Ho'ai'ai West Lock Station. This is one on the intersection of Farrington Highway and Leoku Street. So the major landmarks are Don Quixote store. On the Mauka side, First Hawaiian Bank, Zippy's, McDonald's. And on the Makai side, we have Cutter, Aloha Kia, and the fire department is right next door on the Makai side of the station. So we're at 98% completion here at this station. The image you see on the left side is the image taken from the Kiss and Ride feature of this Makai side of the station. So basically what that amounts to is kind of like an airport drop-off. So, family members can drop each other off at the station right at the curb. So they just literally walk into the area where you pay with the Holo card and get in. There's a escalator, staircase, and elevator on the Makai side. It's fully featured. There'll be some buses running in on the east side of the station as well. So Mauka Makai Fairgate construction is ongoing. They're building the final phase of the Makai Fairgate. So the picture on the right-hand side shows you the Mauka Fairgate under construction. And we're actually past this particular point where they actually laid the canopy onto the Fairgate steel that you see in the picture here. So progress is definitely being made. Station name and directional signage installation ongoing. So when you get to the station, you kind of know where to go, so you're not lost when you get into the station building. And the estimated completion date is fall of 2020. Next slide, please. The image that you see here is kind of the ongoing station construction traffic notifications that we send out to the community as this work is ongoing. So we're actually be looking at work through October to get the work done, but essentially it's like painting, electrical work, some touch-ups to get this station wrapped up. And typically what happens is they'll take the closures that you can see here, the time frames, but they'll end them early. They're intermittent. They're not all week, every week kind of things that you'd see in the past. Next slide, please. The Pohala Waipahu Transit Center station, conveniently located next to the Waipahu Bus Transit Center, is near Mokuola Street and Farrington Highway. So the top image is taken from the Highway Inn parking lot, the new Highway Inn location. And as a reminder, folks, please support these local businesses. I mean, they've been impacted by the construction, and now we have COVID. And so just as a reminder, please go out there and support these businesses, buy some pipikala and poi and stuff like that. But the parking lot here, you're looking at the Mauka side of the station entrance. This is a unique station in that there is only one side of this station that you enter from, the Mauka side, which connects right to the bus transit center. It's a 98% completion. The station Fairgate completion work is ongoing. The station name and directional sign installation is ongoing. And we have some upcoming work on Molo Alo Street, which is the street that runs adjacent to Farrington westbound. And they'll be needing to close that street for a period of about 3 to 4 weeks in order to install a new raised tabletop crosswalk. And there's some final street light tie-ins to do. But the estimated completion of this station is also fall of 2020. Next slide, please. We also have some ongoing notifications to let the community know that the work will be continuing through October of 2020 at this site as well. So same thing as the other station, these same time frames and whatnot. Next slide, please. Halalani, Leeward Community College Station. So this one is the one furthest into completion, 99% complete. Basically, the station name and directional signage is being installed. So as the materials arrive, they install them as they arrive. And the finishing work is done in preparation for station turnover. So what happens is once they establish that the work has been complete, the station gets handed back over to Hart, and they in turn work with the other contractors to complete the rest of the work prior to the interim service. So the estimated completion is fall 2020 as well. And so that should complete my part of the presentation. I'm going to hand this back off to our illustrious Justin Barfield. So thank you very much, and stay safe, folks. Aloha.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. So the next stations we'll be going over are the Kamehameha Highway Station Group that covers Pearl City, Aiea, Halawa area. Next slide, please. So the first station in this group, as you're looking west to east, is the Waiawa Pearl Highlands Station. This is right at the split of Kamehameha Highway and Farrington Highway by the back of Sam's Club's Century Park Plaza. We're at 95% completion here. One unique feature of this station is the fact that it's entirely built above ground or off the ground. This is next to the Waiawa Stream, and so topography sort of requires this station to be built off the ground. It will also connect to the future transit center. It is going to be a parking garage and transit center adjacent. Non-Inc. is not building that, but it is designed. That big platform area you see on the left is meant to marry up to the transit center when that gets constructed. So we're at 95% completion. Our upcoming work is canopy fabric, architectural finishes, and landscaping. Target of this fall to get this work done. And the bottom picture just shows one of the ways that you can get there. This is the pedestrian ramp up fronting Kamehameha Highway. And speaking of Kamehameha Highway, next slide, please. We have some canopy work that we're going to be doing, and starting tomorrow for 3 days, 7 a.m. to 3:30, we will be closing the eastbound Kamehameha Highway coming out of Pearl City Industrial, Waihona Street, if you folks are familiar with that. So it's just a daily closure for 3 days to do some canopy work. The folks on Waihona Street out of Pearl City Industrial will have to take the H1 and get off probably at the Waikele exit and loop back around if they're trying to get back to town. So 3 days for that planned closure. Next slide, please. The Kalawao Pearl Ridge Station. This is at Kamehameha Highway and Kaunohi Street. The picture on your left, as you can see, these stations are a mirror image of each other. So the Mauka and Makai side basically achieve the same thing. You enter the fare gate, and then you go upstairs, escalator or elevator, to the concourse level. And then you can also go to the platform level to get on board the station. Geography-wise, this is near Homeworld, Best Buy on one side, and Territorial Savings and Car Stereo Express on the other. We're at 95% completion. We have some more canopy fabric work to be done, some architectural finishes, some directional signage, the one that Patrick mentioned in his presentation, basically to let you know, hey, if you need to go Eva bound, go this direction. If you're going town bound, go this way, things like that. And then we have some landscaping. Next slide. Thank you. The last station that Non-Inc. is building in the western portion is the Halawa Aloha Stadium Station. This is at Kamehameha Highway and Salt Lake Boulevard. This is the old Kamehameha lot, the overflow lot for UH Games. We're at 93% complete. One thing, if you look in the small picture on your right, the thing that's noticeably absent here and is the maining work that we have to do here is the canopy fabric, and that is coming in soon. We should be getting going on that real soon. In addition to that, we have architectural finishes and signage. We're on track to be complete in the fall of 2020. And also in the foreground of the larger picture, you see a small snippet of the park and ride that is there also. That's a 500 stall park and ride that Non-Inc. also constructed. And that concludes my presentation. I want to thank all the community members that have been a part of this process with us. Thank you so much. And I want to send it back to Jai Cunningham.
Thank you very much, Justin. Appreciate that. And we are already getting questions, and we appreciate that because obviously with the presentation, once it's done, we want to be able to answer as many questions as we can. A couple of different ways. If you want, and you're watching us on Facebook, in the comments section, you can write your question in there. Also, if you want to email it, you can send it to us at info@honolulutransit.org. We appreciate the fact that folks are watching today. And like we said, this is really important for us because we're not able, because of the COVID, we're not able to get back out into the community just yet. And so with this virtual meeting, we're hoping that we're able to answer some of the questions. And obviously, a lot of folks have some very good questions that we'll get to in just a bit. Right now, though, let's continue our presentation, and we're going to head to the airport area, airport guideway and stations with Shimmick, Traylor, and Granite. Let's welcome in Ben Myers. Afternoon, Ben.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, Jai. Like Jai said, my name is Ben Myers. I'm representing the Shimmick Traylor Granite joint venture. Talk about the airport guideway stations project. Next slide, please. Quick overview of the highlights of the project here. To date, we're 75% complete. We are scheduled for a substantial completion at the end of 2021. We've got 3 of the 5 miles of guideway have been installed, and we're ongoing station and construction work through the end of 2021. Next slide, please. Little higher level overview. Down on the west end of our project, on Kamehameha Highway, we're continuing with the improvements to the streets as well as installing track above, which you can't hardly see from ground level. We have construction going on at the station, the Pearl Harbor Station at Radford Drive. We've also got station work going on within the airport, guideway installation going on in 2 locations, one in the airport and one in the Kihei Lagoon area, as well as drilled shaft and column construction going on in both Reach E, which is out on Dillingham Drive, as well as on Uolena Street, currently started last night. Also have both stations, the station at Lagoon Drive and the station at Middle Street are also under construction at the same time here. Next slide, please. Here's a high-level view of the Kamehameha Highway section. We have the station work is ongoing. That's the blue form work you see there in the middle of the picture. As a result of that, we do have some intermittent daytime lane closures between Kalaloa and Halava Drive. And we're continuing with that work, and we'll continue with the streetlight work and be hopefully finishing up with that in the 4th quarter of this year. You'll see, like I said, the track installation is progressing through this location and moving up towards the Pearl Harbor interchange at this time. Next slide, please. Here's a closer up view of the Pearl Harbor Station. The yellow you see here in the middle of the picture is the pedestrian bridge that's going to connect the fare gates on the Malka side of Kamehameha Highway to the elevator and platform at the Mackay side of the road. As a result of this work, we are having to take some closures nightly from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. So there's a detour in this location, so please be aware of that. And we'll be continuing with this work through the end of 2021. So be aware, there's some stuff going on there. Here's a overview of our work going on at the Nimitz and Valkenburg intersection. We have some streetlight work and road improvements going on here. We have detours intermittently for the work area shown to keep our employees safe. And that'll continue on through the end of this year. We're looking to start installing track in this location at the end of this year as well. Next. The airport station picture here shows the gantry working adjacent to the new rental car facility. So we've progressed past this location a little bit since this picture's taken. with the guideway. There are still nightly closures and detours in this area to allow for work both for our project, for the HART project, as well as some of the work going on at the airport to complete the rental car facility. This will be ongoing through mid-2021. At that time, we'll have the road restored and restriped and paved, and hopefully everything back in working order there. Next slide, please. Another overview of the station. There's a progress station as of middle of August. Photo there on the left that shows the platform girder assemblies being set up on top to continue on with the station construction, as well as the rendering on the right shows the ultimate configuration, which will contain pedestrian access to both terminals at the airport via the PED bridge that connects through the parking structures and gets you to both Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, respectively. Next slide, please. Kind of the big activity we have going on right now is in the airport industrial area on Uolena Street and YY Loop around the Lagoon Drive intersection. We've started the foundation installation. Like I said, actually started last night, and that'll continue on through the probably mid-November. With that work, and then the columns and straddle bents and guideway will follow on through spring into early summer of 2021. Well, there is nightly detours on Uolena Street and on YY Street, and at this point in time, Uolena Street is in a one-way configuration westbound. So we ask that everybody be aware of the change condition and understand the traffic pattern there, and be cognizant of everybody working in that area. Next slide, please. Here's a progress photo of the Lagoon Drive station. Similar to some of the stations Justin spoke about, they mirror each other on both sides of the street. So we'll have a little kiss and ride on the Mackay side of the street, and there's also the fare gates and everything on the Malka side of the street. The intersection will also get a bunch of improvements as far as crosswalks and signals that aren't currently there. We're currently working on both sides of the road, and we'll continue through the end of 2021 there. Next slide, please. Like I was speaking about here at the Middle Street, we've got some closures on Middle Street, Kamehameha Highway, and Nimitz. A full closure from Nimitz Highway through the Kehi Lagoon Memorial Park and the Kahiki Village area. Typically Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, from mid-September of this year through about Thanksgiving of next year. Not every night, but it's intermittent as needed. So please be aware of that as well. Next slide, please. This photo here is the guideway construction approaching the Kahiki Village and leaving the park. We're through the Senator Dan Kianui Drive and currently paralleling the Nimitz ramp. We're continuing with that to the guideway construction. We'll cross Nimitz and the H1 to Nimitz ramps here probably before around the Christmas time, first of the year area. So we're continuing to work with the businesses and the residents in this area to maintain access and be as less impactful as possible. Next slide. Last picture here is of is a rendering of the Middle Street Transit Center station. We're just getting out of the ground with the foundation and column work at this time. The PED bridge installation will be first quarter of next year, which will get access from the station stop to the Middle Street bus terminal. And one of the highlights on the job here was one of the foundations here in this picture is 357 foot deep from the water level down to the bottom. So a lot of weight is holding up. Is a big station, and a lot of neat facts here. So I think that concludes what I have. Before I hand it over to Mark, I would like to say thank you to the 500 plus employees that STG and the subcontractors have. Working through all the COVID-19 stuff and staying strong for the people of Honolulu, as well as all our partners at the Navy, H-Dot Highway, H-Dot Airport, all the businesses along Uolena and YY, where they're all being impacted somewhat from a convenience standpoint. So we appreciate everybody's cooperation and look forward to maintaining positive relationships with everybody. So with that said, hand it over to you, Mark.
Hey, thank you, Ben. Just before we get to Mark, real quick, I thought I had the best background of any of the virtual presentations, but Big Ben has beaten us on that one because left lane must turn right is the best sign I've seen all day. So, all right, let me get out of the way and let me present to you Mark Gravel. He's project manager for City Center Utility Relocation.
Thank you, Jay. As stated, my name is Mark Gravel. I'm Hart's project manager for the City Center Utilities Relocation Project. The primary purpose of the City Center Utility Relocation Project is just to get everything out of the way of the guideway structure. So all the existing utilities that we've identified that could potentially be in the path of the guideway construction and in the path of construction, it's our role to get that out of the way and find a better place for it. So I'm going to start this presentation off by just going over the whole city center corridor from starting at Middle Street and ending at Ala Moana. So this will help in describing the separate locations in further slides. So at the left side of the screen of this slide in green is Middle Street. So the green, the blue, and the yellow all represent the Dillingham corridor. So that's what we speak to as Area 1. The orange piece, or it's red actually, to the right of that is Ka'ai'i Street, which essentially connects Dillingham to Nimitz, which is the purple section on the right-hand side, which is Area 3. We'll go to the next slide, please. The next slide shows just a small piece of Nimitz before it turns orange, and that's Halikuila, which we have identified as Area 4. Area 4 then shifts over to Queen Street, which is Area 5, and it shifts over again to Kona Street, which is the pink on the end, which ends up at the Ala Moana Mall, which is the terminus of the city center piece of this project. Next slide, please. So Area 1, which is the Dillingham corridor, is currently in redesign. In March of this year, we established controlled access from Middle Street through to Mokawea, and our contractor, Hart's contractor, NON, implemented a 24/7 controlled access in this area, which limited the traffic to one lane in each direction. At that time, we moved ahead. We had a fairly good rate of construction going. We were installing utilities or relocating utilities. We had ductwork in place. As we moved along with our designs in the other areas, it was our intention to just roll this out and continue on throughout the Dillingham corridor from Middle Street through to Evele, and with the design and then with the controlled access as well. As we moved along, in our review periods with various departments, the city departments, third-party utilities, it became apparent that we would not be able to progress with the design without encountering locations where we could not meet required clearances. In some places it's a little, in other places it's a little bit more. With that in mind, we tried to mitigate these issues and move it forward with our partners at the city and the third parties. And we've come to a point where we have determined that in order to find the necessary space we need within the Dillingham corridor, we will need to take a step back and determine how we're going to find a little bit more space here. So currently Hart is reevaluating and anticipating a redesign of the Dillingham corridor, where we'll be looking at various options to create space so that we can actually find room for everything in that area. Just to give you an idea of the challenge that we face, Dillingham is about 8,500 feet in length. There's in particular 13 locations that we've defined as being what I would like to call a pinch point, where there just isn't enough space across the corridor to fit everything. Those 13 locations add up to about 200 to 300 feet of the total length, 250 to 300 feet of the total length of Dillingham. So we're in the midst of reevaluating that, and I've provided a slide. The next slide is just a picture of 500 feet of the Dillingham corridor. On your left-hand side is Colborne. On your right-hand side is just short of the Kapalama stream. And the takeaway from this is just we've identified, and each and every one of these colors identifies a separate utility in this location. And the takeaway from this is on this particular 500-foot stretch, there's 2 locations. They're circled in red. They're nice little green boxes, and they represent some utility manholes where we are just not able to maintain or attain the clearances we need from the utilities alongside. So just to give an overall impression of how congested that area is, that's the intention of this slide. So we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so with the Dillingham corridor, with the anticipation of a redesign and the time that it will take, we recognize the fact that we're going to have to move off that area for an undetermined period of time right now as we figure out how to move ahead. So with that in mind, we're looking to return the Middle Street to Mokuleia controlled access section back to full access. So at this time, we've directed the contractor to cease actual new construction and begin to reestablish full access. So that means we'll be removing the steel plates, we'll be filling holes, we'll be leveling the surfaces, returning the sidewalks and pedestrian access to what they once were. It may not be a permanent established, but it may be asphalt instead of concrete. We'll restripe the traffic lanes where we need to. The intention is just to bring it back to full service so that while we do the redesign, we're not impeding traffic. In the meantime, until we're able to get back to it, Hart will be dealing with the maintenance in this area. And when construction resumes, we intend to put controlled access back into place. What should be noted is that the AGS, or the airport portion of this build, is actively constructing at the Middle Street end of Dillingham, and will be doing so for the foreseeable future. So Dillingham will not be free of construction, but we will return as much access to traffic as possible. Next slide, please. So here we'll go on to the other areas. Area 2 again was Ka'ahi, and we show that there's almost 55% of that complete, which represents the majority of the underground ducting being in place. So from here we have to place the new cables, the new network for the affected parties, that being HTI and HECO. We have to put them in place and essentially hook it up. And then we need to return the road surface to, essentially new surfacing, new sidewalks, new landscaping at that point in time. So we're over half done in this area. It is the smallest area, but it gives us a good indication as to how the rest of the work will proceed. Now, as we move over to Nimitz Highway, which is Area 3, we're showing just over 5% of that complete, and it's comprised mainly of preparing the work and removing existing abandoned lines from the column locations where they would impede the construction of the guideway structure. So work is ongoing there. We are awaiting some finalization of design to complete that. Next slide, please. Areas 4, 5, and 6, so essentially as soon as you come off of Nimitz all the way through to Ala Moana, along Haleakala, Queen, and Kona, we are awaiting finalization of the design in these areas. The intention is, with Dillingham on hold, that we will continue from Iwilei and work our way from what we had called Area 2 through Area 3 onwards to Area 6 as we work towards preparing these areas for the guideway structure. In areas 4, 5, and 6, we do not anticipate being able to begin a high volume of utility relocation until near the new year. There's a couple design packages that have to be completed in these areas before we can move on beyond that. So that's a bit of an update in this area, and we'll go on to the next slide, please. What I found in the past presentation we did here is that all the other presenters had really nice pictures of what they intended to do with the stations, et cetera. So I thought I would add what we've got for the Dillingham area, and this one shows Dillingham looking Diamond Head from Mokuea, and it shows essentially the existing situation. What you'll notice is extensive aerial in place that obviously would hamper construction as it crosses and parallels the Dillingham corridor. It's relatively narrow, and what you'll also notice is that it's an undivided bidirectional traffic, which simply means that oncoming traffic is separated by simply painted lines. So this is the existing situation as rendered here. As we go to the next slide, it shows what the end product will be. And this is when all the utility locates are completed, the guideway is in place, and everything is brought back to where we anticipate the end product to be. And what you'll notice right away is that there are no longer aerial lines. This is not going to be possible everywhere, but for the most part, it's where it's beneficial and where we can complete it. The aerial lines will be placed underground, and it's a multiple purpose. It leaves a cleaner skyline, and it helps with the construction of the guideway. We'll also end up with a slightly wider corridor in the Dillingham area as we're taking a slightly larger right-of-way. And you'll notice the raised median along the center line where the columns are, which provides for divided traffic flow. So this is the end picture, and this is what everybody's aiming for at the end of this project. So that's the end of my presentation, and I'll hand it back to Jai this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And again, a big shout out to Kai Kealoha, who gave us a big thumbs up on Facebook. We appreciate you watching. And again, if you want to submit a question, a couple different ways. You can go to another comment box on Facebook, put your question in there. We have folks who are monitoring the feed right now as we're live on Facebook. Also, if you wanted to email, you can email us at info@honolulutransit.org. That's two of the different ways that you can submit your question to us. We have a number of different experts who are going to stay on, who will be able to answer those questions. We appreciate the curiosity that folks have. Obviously, it's a huge project, and we want to get to as many questions as we can. So thank you very much for tuning in. All right. Now let's move on. With Core Systems, we want to find out more about some of the dynamic train testing that's been going on. And for that, we welcome in Anna Kothe. Anna?
Thanks, Jai. Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Kothe. I'm the Public Involvement Manager representing the team here at Hitachi Rail Honolulu. Next slide, please. As Jai mentioned, we are the Core Systems contractor for HART, and our primary responsibility, we have many, our primary responsibility is the manufacturing, testing, and commissioning of passenger vehicles or train cars for the rail transit project. So currently we have 12 full trains on island. Now each train consists of cars, and you can fit approximately, I think, 800 passengers or so on each train. We're in the process of fully testing and commissioning those trains and getting them ready for passenger service. So we are aiming for interim opening 1, just as Executive Director Robbins talked about, in March of 2020. And we'll have 7 trains that are going to be part of that interim opening 1 fleet. And we've got all those trains on island. We're in the middle of a rigorous testing and commissioning program to get them ready for service. So Hitachi recently assumed responsibility over the first 3 stations of segment 1. And within those stations, we're in the process of bringing on all the subsystems to get them ready for full service. So that includes the traction power substations, the traction electrification system, the fire detection and alarm system. So communications within the station, making sure that all of those pieces fit together nicely and are ready for service here in March of 2021. Next slide, please. So we've energized the entirety of the Segment 1 line all the way from East Kapolei to Aloha Stadium, and we are actively testing trains on the entire Segment 1 line. So most of our testing during the day, you'll see us out in the Waipahu and Kapolei areas. Most of our testing happens between Leeward Community College and East Kapolei during the day. And then in the evenings, we're actually testing the entire Segment 1 line. So you'll see us running all the way from East Kapolei Station all the way out to Aloha Stadium Station. And just to give you an idea of some of the tests we're running, we are running the trains in full automatic mode. So they do have drivers on board just to make sure that everything is safe and in working order. But the trains are running in automatic just as they would during service in March of next year. And as we prepare for that interim opening one, we're hiring a wide range of personnel for a lot of different positions, everywhere from maintenance technicians to control room operators to information controllers. We need a lot of people to make this system work. Even though it is a fully automated system, there are a lot of people behind the scenes actually working to get the project up and running. So we are all of those personnel. We've gotten really close. We're building up to about 168 full-time employees by the time we reach interim opening in March of 2021. So we've hired many of those positions. We're getting very close, and all of those personnel are actively being trained and going through a really rigorous training program to make sure that they're ready to provide service come next year. Next slide, please. So just as important as it is that we train our own personnel, we also have a really active collaboration and partnership with our first responders. And we're working to train our EMS, Hawaii Fire Department, and Honolulu Police Department personnel to make sure that they understand our operating system and procedures and that they have safe access to the guideway in case there were ever some sort of emergency that they needed to get up there and help any passengers who might be in trouble. So we've been working with them to make sure that they have safe access to the guideway and to the stations, and that they know all the inner workings of our system so that they can be safe too as they help people if need be. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Jai. Thank you so much. And just remember that as you are seeing our trains out there testing, just as a reminder, make sure that you're looking ahead, keeping your eyes on the road, and not looking overhead. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate that. And we appreciate all the different questions that we've gotten in. Besides the comment box there on Facebook, if you also wanted to send, you can send it to, email it to us at info@honolulutransit.org. Okay, so now let's get to some of those questions, because we know a lot of folks have been out there, had a chance to watch this and want some of their questions answered. Okay, so let's start, and we'll figure out exactly who, expert-wise, we need to answer this. But a Facebook question that came in from Greg Narum, what happened with the public-private partnership? And we are socially distanced, so I'll move out and I'll let Director Robbins come in to answer that.
Okay, thank you for the question. The public-private partnership, or P3 as it's called, is a project delivery procurement that we undertook jointly with the City and County of Honolulu to execute the city center portion, the construction of the guideway and stations, as well as the Pearl Highlands Transit Center and garage, and also the overall long-term operations and maintenance of the entire system. So this was an extensive procurement effort, and the city last week announced that it has decided to withdraw its participation. The city is chiefly responsible for the operations and maintenance of the system. They do have an alternate way to accomplish the O&M, which I believe they will pursue at this time. But HART has announced that we are not withdrawing at this time. The procurement is still active, and that's in consideration of the fact that we still have bidders that invested close to 2 years of their time and money at their own risk to put together competitive proposals to accomplish this work. They did submit proposals on July 23rd, and we believe it's important for us to consider options going forward, whether that involves keeping the P3 delivery method going or possibly looking at an alternative strategy for procuring the city center. We presented an alternative strategy to our board of directors last week. So it's incumbent on us to find the best strategy going forward, especially in regard to constructing city center. In that regard, we're working closely and conferring with the state procurement office because all of our procurements fall under state law. So it's important for us to take advice from them, as well as engaging our priority listed offers, the bidders themselves, to understand, what their thoughts are and what they see as the best path forward as well. So it's still active. There's challenges obviously involved. And as we discussed in this presentation, what underpins the success of Guideway and station construction in City Center is the relocation of those massive utilities. And that'll be a focus of HART, working very closely with the city as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Robbins. And before I let him get away, we have another question when it comes to financing. Greg Narum, the same gentleman, sent us a Facebook question wanting to know what is going to take the place of funding that's been lost because of COVID. It's been a tough.
Ruth is on the line.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? Our Chief Financial Officer, Ruth Lohr. Can you take that one, Ruth?
Absolutely, Jay. Good afternoon, everyone. Ruth Lohr, our CFO. In regards to what potential funding what sources of funding that we can take a look at, there's certainly, we do have a few options, but of course, a lot of those are not up to our discretion in terms of whether we can just ask and expect to have it given to us. There has been, of course, with the impacts of COVID, there's been discussions, of course, at the federal level because this is something that has impacted agencies, transit agencies, and really everyone, not just nationally, but globally. But clearly with rail projects of this size, that has been an impact that has hit all of the projects nationwide. So there has been discussion in terms of sort of providing some stimulus in order to make sure that those projects are still going strong and are not negatively impacted by losses of funding because of the COVID situation. Certainly there is the potential that GAT or TAT, an extension, but that's certainly not something, again, that is that we can determine. We would have to have the discussion with the legislature, and right now there's clearly a lot of impact happening to the state of Hawaii with high unemployment. So, but that is certainly one of our funding sources and potentially a possible solution for helping bridge the gap. And then, of course, we are a city-county project, and that is the city subsidy is a subsidy that is being provided currently. And looking at, until we know exactly how the funding shortage will impact us, those are possible funding sources for us that are easy to identify right now. But, we're certainly looking at any other ways we can find funding sources that will help sort of bridge that gap in the meantime as we try to get through to the end of COVID. So, Giles, I'll turn it back to you then.
Thank you, Ruth. Appreciate that. Very good questions, folks. Another Facebook question coming in from Chris Delmar. And I'm with you on this one, Chris. Is there any way that someone from the public can test ride on one of those trains? Anna Kofi, please let me know that we can test ride those.
We hear you, Chris. We're really excited too, but unfortunately, until all of the trains are safety certified and have completed rigorous testing and commissioning regimen, we're not going to be able to allow any members of the public onto our moving trains just yet. But hang tight. We're making a lot of progress, and we're really excited to start welcoming people on board very soon.
Thank you, Anna. Yeah, we're looking forward to that as well. Another good question. You know, we're only about 5 weeks away from the general election, and there will be a new mayor of Honolulu. And so we got a question in from Brett Colbus. What effect on the project will the election of a new mayor have? Does the new mayor have authority to stop the project at Middle Street for any reason? I'm going to step out of the way here and let Chief Executive Officer Andy Robbins answer that.
Okay, I'll try to tackle that question. You know, our mandate at HART is to carry out the planning, design, construction, and operational readiness and certification of a rail transit project based on the policy of the city. And that policy was determined through many, many public sessions in the mid-2000s, and then it was voted on by City Council. And they voted on what's called the locally preferred alternative, which was a 20-mile rail transit system between Kapolei and actually all the way to UH Manoa. That's what's called the locally preferred alternative. But based on available funding, a minimum operable segment, as it's known, was voted on that completes the project in its first phase to Ala Moana Center. So that's the mandate, and that's also an agreement that the city and county has with the federal government in an agreement known as the Full Funding Grant Agreement, FFGA. So that's what we carry out. Now, of course, it's dependent on available funding, and COVID has impacted our funding sources, as our CFO just explained. So Mayor Caldwell, and I'm sure the next mayor, is focused on that and is concerned with having enough adequate funding to complete our mandate. But we work very closely with Mayor Caldwell. We'll continue to work very closely with the next mayor. And of course, everyone is looking forward to solving the issues in terms of the impact of COVID-19 and carrying out our mission according to the FFGA of completing the system to Ala Moana Center. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Director Robbins. You know, we miss the fact that we're not able to have these meetings in person, and we look forward to hopefully one day getting back out there to do that. But we appreciate you tuning in today for this virtual meeting, just to let you know kind of what is happening. Okay, so we had another question come in. This is from Moon Yun Pellerin. What COVID-19 safety measures are the construction workers taking to stay safe? I'll move out of the way because I think Director Robbins, we had talked about this the other day. This is something that is being practiced in the field, correct? So let me move out of the way and have Director Robbins address that.
Okay, thanks, Jai. We could also have some of our construction folks who are on the line as well maybe chime in. But you know, one great thing about working with our contractors and the labor unions that are involved in the project is that they are very used to working in a safe manner with strong safety protocols, and they utilize what's known as PPE, personal protective equipment, even before COVID, of course, because of the nature of the work. Things like hard hats, goggles, safety vests, safety shoes. You know, all of those encompass personal protective equipment that's mandatory on this project. And when COVID hit, we had to add another level of safety in regard to COVID-19, and that involved things like wearing masks, social distancing, believe it or not, even on a construction site, wiping down tools, not sharing tools, and then very importantly, at break time, when workers are used to kind of congregating, socializing, eating lunch together, it became very important to enforce the protocols that had to be put in place because of COVID-19 that all of us are carrying out as citizens in terms of maintaining 6-foot distance and all of the other safe working protocols. So we're really happy with our contractors and our workers and the labor unions all combining to make sure that these safety protocols are put into effect, they're communicated, and they're used. And then, as I mentioned earlier, thanks go to our safety teams for going out, doing the checking to make sure that everyone is complying, and we're very delighted that we have a very strong compliance to all of our safety protocols.
Thank you, Director Robbins. Okay, let's see. Our next question comes in via Facebook. It is from Brett Colbus. Wanting to know, is Hawaii dredging within budget on the stations that they're working on? Who do you want me to hand that one to, boss man? You want me to go back to Ruth?
I could do it, or...
Let's have Director Robbins. I'll step out of the way here. Director Robbins will be right back in.
Well, I mean, the situation on the first 9 stations, and we have 2 different contractors involved in the 9 stations. We have Hawaiian Dredging, and we have NAN Inc. In both cases, the budgets for the stations did go over the original bid estimates. These were designed, what are known as design bid build contracts, and at the time the decision was made to award the contracts before the designs were 100% complete. These aren't simple buildings. There's a lot of what we in the engineering world call interfaces involved, where we have electrical cables, other kinds of pipes, and other kinds of equipment all coming kind of through these buildings, and the interfaces become very important. And in the design build process, with the state of the construction as it was at the time of bidding, going into the commencement of construction, there were a lot of changes that were required to get everything correct, everything to work. And we never want to sacrifice safety or quality. We won't. And we have strong support from our contractors in those areas as well. And also in construction, you do run into situations, as we did with our canopy arms. You heard Justin talk about the beautiful fabric canopies. We did encounter defects in several cases with the steel support arms for those canopies. And again, we cannot sacrifice quality or safety, and we had to do a certain amount of redesign, refabrication, and reconstruction to get those correct to ensure safety and quality. So all of that resulted in an over-budget situation on those stations. But in the last 3 years, we were able to find savings in other areas to take into account the over-budget situation with the station. So in that way, we're managing the overall project budget, even when we have difficulty in one area or the other.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate that. We have a question from a good friend, Cruz Vina Jr. If all the folks who work here at HART and who have done some of the presentations and been out in the community before COVID struck, he is a true supporter and very enthusiastic. He says he misses meeting with us. I don't know if he misses meeting with me, but Cruz, we appreciate you tuning in today. Cruz wants to know, are all the core systems in the station complete yet? Now, Anna, I'll turn it over to you. I know you had talked a little bit about some of the testing that is ongoing, and it really is morning, noon, and night, correct?
It is, yes. We've got testing activities going on 24 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. I don't know exactly the, completion rate at each station. I think it varies from station to station depending on which subsystem we're referring to, but we're making really great progress, and I think we're on track to be complete with all the installation, testing, and commissioning of those subsystems, those core systems at all of the stations, and ready to be up and running by March of 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate that. All right, we do have a question that came in via email from info@honolulutransit.org. Paul Antonelli, will the power plant on Nimitz have any building removal due to rail? Let me step out of the way here.
That would be Frank.
Let's go with Frank. Frank Kosich, are you there?
Let's pause because the stream got interrupted.
Okay, let me reread that there. I think we had a little technical difficulty. Paul Antonelli wants to know, will the power plant on Nimitz have any building removal due to rail? Frank Kosich, are you with us? I tell you what, let me step out of the way here, and we're getting very good at this dance. Let me have Director Robbins address that. Oh, Frank Kosich. There's Frank.
Okay. I see our planning director, Ryan Tam, on the line. Maybe, Ryan, you want to take it?
Yeah, certainly. Good morning or good afternoon. There's a small building at the corner of the HECO power plant that would be removed for the station entrance. So it's a Leslie Hicks building. It's right at the corner. It's a small building, and it's right at the corner of Aloha Tower Drive. And it's at the corner of Nimitz and Bishop, and that's where the Mackay entrance will be. There'll be a stairway, elevator, escalators to get up to the concourse level, and then up to the platform level. Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. Okay, we got another Facebook question that's coming in from Clinton Inoue. Noticed column construction in front of Marukai. Will track construction follow after that? Frank, did you hear that one? No, okay. So again, Clinton Inoue, noticed column construction in front of Marukai. Will track construction follow after that? Let me step out of the way and let you talk to Frank Kosich.
Good afternoon. Short answer is yes. The work you're seeing there is the prep work to do excavated drill shafts in the Middle Street area. From there, the columns will be placed, and then the guideway construction will ensue. The segmented guideway construction will ensue. So yes.
Thanks, Frank.
Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, another question coming in from Kai Kealoha. Did we figure out the cost to ride, and does it work alongside the bus service? So the quick answer to this is it has not been set up just yet. So just a few years back, we voted to set up a commission that was going to set what it was going to cost to ride that. And that commission will then make the recommendation to the city council. Ultimately, the city council will do that. I can tell you this, having talked and heard Director Robbins often talk about this, the bus service and the train service are going to be integral, that there's a real synergy that goes on there. You heard a few of the different contractors make mention today of some of the kiss and rides, where you get dropped off literally at these stations. So the bus integration is going to be critical moving forward. So yes, they will be such that, it's obvious that with that Holo card, it's the one stop. I got mine, that is working on the bus right now, will also work on the rail. With these Holo cards, you can load cash on them. You could also simply load a pass on them, so a monthly pass, a yearly pass, that sort of thing. So yes, it will be important for the bus and the rail to be sort of integrated. All right, another Facebook question, this one coming in from Daniel Bird. Has the H2 Pearl Highlands off-ramp already been constructed? If so, will it open on the same day that revenue service begins? And I will turn that one over to Frank real quick, because that's another part. Once this big parking structure is built, there will be a dedicated off-ramp. But let me have Frank come in here.
So as it stands right now, the off-ramp to the Pearl Highlands Garage is part of the Pearl Highlands Garage scope, which is included in the current P3 scope of work that Director Robbins talked about earlier today. So that garage will not be ready for open for interim service, and the ramp will not be complete. But the intent is to have those open for full up revenue service.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, another question coming in via Facebook from Kai Kealoha. I noticed that the start at Kapolei was built, and I'm assuming that the rail will continue westward towards Ko'olina And at Ala Moana are your plans to extend towards the east direction, maybe Waikiki or the University of Hawaii at Manoa. In case of redesigning a condo tower currently in the path. Now, excited that Honolulu is another transportation option, has another one. Not the solution, but another way to move about our great city. And any ideas on Waikiki? Would it work? Maybe underground? Ryan Tam, if you don't mind, I know he's been on board and has an idea as far as the future and what it could hold for Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation. Ryan?
Yeah, so certainly, as Andy mentioned, currently, our authority is to do the 20 miles for the project that we're doing now. Obviously, we're going to have to work with the city administration on getting to UH and potentially Waikiki. The route, the so-called locally preferred alternative that voters picked back in, that the city picked back in 2006, 2007, had a route going down Kuhio. And that was going to be a single track branch route. So, that was the plan back then. Obviously, that'll all have to be relooked. I know the city's looked at different alternatives for getting to Waikiki over the years, but that'll all be kind of a more comprehensive look that will be done. Jai, if I can, I did want to kind of amend kind of what I said a few minutes ago about the downtown station. So I said that the Leslie Hicks building was going to be a portion of that was going to be demolished. It's actually not the whole building, but just kind of a portion of it. So kind of there's an awning. Just part of it is going to be demolished. So I think the rest of it would be staying. So I just wanted to kind of make that clear. So thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. If we could, next slide, please. What we're asking for, and we appreciate you tuning in today, if you could, take our survey. All you have to do is go to honolulutransit.org/survey. We would really appreciate to sort of hear your voice, hear what you have to say with our survey. So we appreciate that. We also want to make mention, we have a really wonderful program, especially right now, if you can, next slide, especially right now, with how difficult things are with COVID and how tough it can be on small businesses. We want to let you know, Shop and Dine on the Line. It's our discount program. We have more than 100 different shops that are signed up. It's super easy. All you have to do is go to www.shopanddineontheline.com. There are some really great deals in there, and it really gives you a chance to support small business in our community, especially with the rail project as it advances, and so we appreciate that greatly. Thank you for tuning in today, this afternoon. We appreciate that. Huge mahalo. Also wanted to let you know, stay connected with us. We have a number of different ways that you can get in touch with us 24/7. We have our hotline that can be reached. It's 24 hours a day at 566-2299. Also, we had talked about the info at honolulutransit.org. Also, social media inquiries, they're answered as well, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Again, we appreciate you tuning in this afternoon. We thank you very much for the great questions. We thank you very much for the interest. And we will continue moving forward, having these virtual community meetings to keep you updated as to where we stand on this rail project. We appreciate that. We will, of course, as that date draws closer, we'll, of course, let you know, not just online, but through social media as well. We thank you for your attention this afternoon. Thank you for your interest. We hope that you have a great day. Aloha, everyone.